That cafecito.
I got a new cup here. See this?
Oh, that's fire.
She got me a new cup,
Oh, yeah,
two-tone
yeah, yeah. I
cup
be
over
getting
here.
cool
Made
house
out of
supplies.
made out of clay, I think it is. It's called Army of Dark Chocolate. I don't know
What's your
what the
sources, Jack?
reference.
How do you know it's made out of clay? Share your sources. Share your
I
sources with me.
need my citations.
Yeah, you don't have citations for that, so don't be saying it's made out of clay if you're not sure. Okay, man. Hello, Trish and Felicia in the building. I appreciate
Already
you. Well, we both appreciate both of you, but thank you for joining us.
gems. Those are the gem girls.
Am I coming in nice in my mic, man? Mic check.
I don't know. I don't think it's as pristine. I don't know if you're connected.
Yeah, let me make sure I'm connected with my mic though.
Yeah, let's check
Hold
that out.
on, hold on.
Because there's a major difference. I can hear the baritone a lot deeper in the in ears. You know what I mean? Oh, okay.
I'm
Okay. Yeah, oh yeah. Oh yeah.
good. I'm back. I just want to make a grand entrance there. All right, perfect.
How we
Um,
doing, Felicia? How are you, Trish? We had a long day of fighting against communists today, right?
yeah, I wanted to keep going. I was hot today. I came back. I'm usually I was telling Macho, I used to try to stay patient, but these people have taken me to a new level. I think this whole week I'm gonna talk about this just to break down the art socialistic argument.
Well, just a question before we run here. How savvy are socialists, right? I notice how savvy they are.
Yeah, but you know why, all right? Let me share this, and we'll roll into. Well, we're technically gonna talk about success ladder, the American dream, all connected to capitalism, anyways. So it's still relevant. But you know why some of them are on it like that is because their ideas have been debunked and attacked a lot, right? So when that happens, for you to stand on that ground, you kind of need to know how to express some of your ideas to have a fighting chance, even though your ideas suck.
They gotta be able to survive it,
You
and they
have to. You know
and
what I'm
they
saying?
face so much ridicule.
Yeah.
And I think at this point, socialist sympathizers, they're not really for the economic system as much as they are together and arguing against another. They don't really
Yeah.
care. I don't think they really care.
That's a great entry point to what we're going to talk about today because a whole different system, what it offers, and all that, man. Let's get this intro
I
rolling.
think we're missing the milkman. That's the only person I'm waiting for.
The
But
milkman. He'll
the
come in the
show
middle of
must
the
go
intro.
on. Yeah, the show must go on. All right. You are watching another live episode of Drinks with a Nobody.
Welcome,
I'm
welcome.
Macho, and that's Savory. But unfortunately, we got two macho icons here. So let me go on
Oh,
ahead and let me
we got two machos.
I mean
Bam. You see that quick
we're
change?
both we're both machos, of course. Like, come on now.
We're both savory too. Oh, pause.
Wow. Okay. Today, folks, we are talking about a very, very important topic to both of us, and that is success ladder and the American dream. I believe this
Sir.
is almost our 90th episode. I forgot. I think
I
we're
think we're
almost
almost there.
close. We're
Yeah.
almost close to 90, and we are steady, steady streaming. By the way, folks, we cannot go, we can only go as far as you share us. So we're doing the best we can on our end to be on TikTok, talk to socialists, talk to Antifa thugs out there. connect. But we cannot do this without you. So we
For
want to
sure.
first thank you all for tuning in to the show. Thank you for being avid supporters of us. That's me and Savory. And thank you also for sharing the live streams, for sharing the show. And we need you guys. We want to build a community, not a cult. You know what we do here? We talk culture and politics. Let's talk about success, not sex. Let's talk about success, baby. Let's talk. All right, Savory. I got a question for you for this segment right here.
Talk to me.
What did you have to do? We were talking off air. What did you have to do to get to the place in the recent years to where you are today?
I was just gonna say this sounds like inner city talk. Am I right or wrong? And you just pressed it. That's what we talking about.
So
That's
I jumped
crazy.
the gun, is what you're saying.
No,
I
that's
jumped the
that's
gun.
great. That's great right there. You're on it. All right. Ask that question again. Make sure I'm answering this correct. What did I have to do?
In the recent years,
Yeah.
because we've known each other now going on 10 years, right? In the recent years, what did you have to do to get to the place where you are currently right now streaming in your
Yeah.
home there?
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about that a bit. So I'm gonna take it back a bit, but I'll be really quick. Where just so people can know, I was in and out of jobs, dropped out of college, had a job here, contract here. I know I shared about working at a supermarket, but then I went from job to job, not really sure what to do, selling my own products online, then talking politics, and then I was like always kind of in something. But I set my mind on something the last 2 years, right? So I went from living at three different friends' place, three different houses that are friend of mine's, including which were you, Macho, prior to that as well. My sister's house, and my dad's house. Through all this time, I had this kind of realization, like, okay, I want to invest in something, right? So I just got really disciplined in the way I was saving money and the goal I had in front of me. And I just looked at America as a playing field. I'm like, all right, I want to take part in this game. So I did just that. I took part in the game and I said, I want to do this. I want to try it out because, again, although I don't like when people make excuses, we all have fallen into that. Myself, yourself, Macho, all of that. But we have to, that switch needs to flip. And for me, it was that moment where I'm like, all right, what can I do? I wanted to buy a property. I wanted to set myself up for marriage. And I really wanted to also climb the career ladder. All right. In what country can you do what I do? Right. And I work in the finance field. Not I'm trying to switch careers now, something I'm more passionate about. But the point is, I did all this without a degree. So people ask me how. There's different forms in this country. Through connections, through working hard, and through separating yourself. So again, I have that career on one end without a degree. I saved up money for a house, and I did all this not because I'm a genius, not because I know better than the next person, but I had a committed strategy that I stuck to. And that's going to be some of what we talk about today as
And
well,
you
some of
did
the things
this.
you can do.
And where did you do this at? Where do you
Uh,
where did you live during the time where you were saving and being
oh,
strategic?
I went from two friends' house and then to my dad's house. So mostly my dad's house though. That last year I was just in my dad's house living sleeping in the living room,
All in New York City.
stacking up all in New York City, high cost of
Yeah.
living and all that. And just, that's my strategy. Yeah.
I listen to a lot of rap artists, right? And they all talk about similar things, how they came from the slums, how they
Hmm.
slept on the couch on the floor, etc. The list goes on. They'll tell you how they
Which
came from
is
nothing to nothing. The song "Lobster" by Monster, excuse me, by Meek
Meek Mill.
Mill, where he talks about what the money does for him and how
Hmm.
it changed. And he goes through that sequence of how the more he obtained money, how it changed the simple things and the pleasures of his life.
Yep,
Right?
yep.
He says the money turned the noodles into
To
pasta.
lobster. Oh,
No, the
pasta.
pasta.
Okay.
You know, and he's no, he no, you that's the next line. I think he says the money turned the tuna into lobster. So he
Okay.
went from eating tuna to now eating lobster, which we all know
Yeah.
is expensive. I like that. I really do, and we're gonna explore. what you went through, what exactly did you do, and then we're also gonna roll a clip. But in the last, I did something similar but a little different. I stood with a friend. So Savory and I used to we used to rent together. We used to live in a house, and I had to leave because I screwed things up. But I then hit rock bottom, and then went from there and had to go in my own way to figure out what do I need to do to put myself in a better position so that I don't ever have to feel like I have to make the decisions I did prior. So
Hmm.
I was, with someone at the time that was my previous partner. I learned some things when I was with my previous partner, but the best time in that sequence was I was like 6 months to myself, all to myself. I cut off everyone. I didn't talk to
I remember
anybody.
that.
I didn't go out. It was literally 6 to 8 months where I went radio silence, right? No one heard of
Hmm.
me. And I literally worked 7 days a week, 7 days a week. And I
Yeah,
told myself,
you also lost how much weight did you lose at the time, just to show the commitment
oh,
behind
I
anything, not only my
lost,
career but just what you did is that
yeah,
was
yeah,
crazy.
yeah. I lost, I was 350 pounds and I went down to 176 pounds.
You see, that is, and again, we talk about the success ladder, but let me tell you why that's relevant. Because what we're about to talk about is a process that can get you somewhere. So even with what you did right there, that took commitment, that took a mindset. Something changed in you. You don't just do that out of nowhere.
Oh,
Your
yeah.
mindset changed. You looked into stuff. You wanted to be a new you. So this is why we emphasize mindset. But that's great. That's
Yeah.
crazy to hear. Wow.
And basically when I worked 7 days a week, I told myself I never want to not have enough money in the account to pay for whatever expenses.
Hmm.
Because I learned that I was so behind the eight ball that I felt like I could never deal with issues that could come up out of nowhere, right?
Hmm.
Forget paycheck to paycheck. That's one thing. But if you're living constantly in that state of mind, forget about the physical, living in that state of mind, you can never deal with the circumstances that just happens in life.
You
So I
can't.
told myself, along with taking care of myself and taking care of my body, that I'm also going to take the sacrifice and work 7 days a week. I literally did not go on dates. I didn't go out with anybody. I didn't look to date anybody. I was totally alone. I actually one time went on a date during that time sequence. It was later in the time sequence of me saving money and working hard, right? And literally the person was like, "So," like after the date was like, "So, what are you doing now?" Like I insinuating like, "Let's go somewhere." And I was like, "I'm going to work, girl."
Yeah.
I literally
He was
went on a
locked in.
date and I said, it was a great date. We'll set up another one." But she wanted to have a nightcap. I'm not lying. She did. She was like,
Mm.
"Okay, so what are you doing now?" I'm like, "I'm going to work." So she was
He
turned
was
off by
locked in
it.
on your goal.
That was the only date we had. And
Yeah,
I
but
didn't
look,
care.
these
I
these
didn't care.
stories open up a mentality. Again, this is why we emphasize that it's not the hocus pocus, just looking up in the
Nope.
air, nothing no, it's something very tangible. When you're saying your mindset, your actions start to change. That's why, again, for those of y'all who've seen Macho and I on TikTok and the debates we do, it's something about getting people out of themselves, right? We can't change everyone's mind, but you have to get out of yourself and look at life in a different perspective. So as we break down here the success ladder and we go into this video, it's going to show you it's practical things that are not hard to do, but you need the right mindset.
Great point.
All right, let's
Oh
do this.
man. It's not inner city talk. This is keep it 100. What's going
Keep it
on with that
100.
graphic
Showtime.
there on the bottom left? Xavier, what do we got on that bottom left graphic there?
That needs to change ASAP. Let's go.
Hey, there it
Oh,
is.
that
Keep
says
it
kept. That
100,
says kept.
folks.
That says kept, guys.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Play that, play that, play that, play that, though. We good. Play that.
Today, young men and women are taking different paths into adulthood, arranging school, work, and family in a dizzying array of combinations. But amidst all these options, there is one path for today's young adults that's more likely to steer them clear of poverty and towards the American dream. In a new report, Wendy Wong and I find that millennials who took 3 simple steps as part of what's called the success sequence are much more likely to be doing well. In fact, 97% of young adults who 1 got at least a high school degree, and then 2 held down a full-time job, and then 3 got married before having any children, avoided poverty by the time they hit their early 30s, and 86% of them are in the middle or upper end of the income distribution. The success sequence is also associated with markedly better economic outcomes for minorities and young adults from poor families. The bottom line, it sure looks like the success sequence is a durable path towards the American dream.
I wanted to leave that right there. That's a great way, my man, to tackle that in 60 seconds. And what specifically stood out to you right there, Savory?
When I look at everything, right, when I'm looking at the breakdown, that these steps he's highlighting, you know what's encouraging about these steps?
What is that?
Is that I'm looking at these steps and I'm literally like, oh snap, anybody could do this. Like,
Ooh.
you know what I'm saying? I was thinking in my mind that it can be something like, all right, you need to make sure you have this IQ. Not everybody's blessed with this. Not everybody can be this. And a lot of that is true, right? Not everybody can be a billionaire in America. Not everybody, you know, that's not the point of capitalism. But this proves the point of a free market system, and the freedoms in America is bigger than free market, but the freedoms in America, that if you do those 3 steps, you are at least going to be above the poverty line, which means you won't be starving, you'll have a roof over your head, and you'll be all right.
And most importantly, you won't depend on the government.
Facts. But you want to know why we don't talk about that? There's another thing. I'm gonna tell you why we don't talk about that, because realize everybody who frames their conversation and they talk about the success ladder, the American dream, how it's not possible. You know what they're really highlighting when you realize this conversation? The 1%. Jeff Bezos. I'm like, I'm not, again, if you want to be a billionaire, cool, go for it. And I think it is possible in any country. It would be America. But that's a big sacrifice you're making, right? It's going to be a lot of time away from your family. You need a certain intellect. You need how to build a team. You need a lot of skills. Credit to those people. But at the end of the day, do you have upper mobility? Let's end it there, because that's what it's about. You're not entitled to anything.
And I want to make it very clear in this video that this gentleman is saying, get a he said literally high school diploma. He started a high school diploma. He didn't even say college degree. And he just said a full-time job. He didn't tell us what kind of full-time job. He just said a full-time job.
And do you agree with that? Just thinking about full-time job. What comes to mind? Like, we just shared our story. Bro, I had a full-time job that was not promising, but what did I say it taught me? Work ethic, skills, being on time. Like, when it showed me that, you open your mind to, all right, nothing's handed to me in this world. So you open another layer of who you are and how you can work. That's what your first job is about. That's what I'm going to teach my kids. Your first job is not about getting the bank. It's not about getting that money. It's not about finding your career. Your first job, you go show up. That's like this is life, you know?
The full-time job to me reminds me of when you're on an airplane and the stewardess is reminding you before you take off to put on your oxygen mask before placing the oxygen mask on children and other people around you. You need to breathe. You need to have a sense of certainty for yourself before you can help others. Now, how much of a force that would be if you now marry somebody who also has a full-time job? For example, right? Let's say you live in West Bummerwell, wherever, you know what I mean? And you both are making like minimum wage and you're probably clocking in at about $25,000 an hour. You put that together, that's 50 grand a year. Guess what? You together put your money together, you save as much pennies as you can, you put a down payment on a house. Next thing you know, you guys are building character, you guys are learning how to be disciplined with your money. You
But
guys
but
build
but
a
Ma-
credit.
Macho, look at in your example is another way. I peel a layer back here.
Okay.
People are able to do that, but let's think about why people don't do that. It's not because
Ooh,
they can't. I'm gonna tell you why they don't do it. What I
why?
said in your first job of what you build, your work ethic, discipline, you haven't built that because what you need a sack. If you have bad spending habits, if you have a mindset where you're spending, or you are afraid to invest, or you feel like you don't want to have your money in the bank. I heard people in the hood tell me that I don't trust them. I don't want to have all these mindsets add up to the way you live. And again, I'm gonna bring it back here, and I'll let you continue here. I got so much thoughts here, but I tell
Yeah.
myself, the people in this is why don't we talk about in the hood high school dropout rate, knowing this, what we just saw in this
Very
video,
high.
why don't we highlight, if we want to bring solutions, the high school dropout rate and work on what's going on with that literacy rate, right? The literacy rate is high in certain Black and minority communities. You ask yourself why, right? So if we fix that, and what
You mean
he's talking
low?
about is a solution, yeah, low. The
Yeah.
literacy rate is low, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but if we fix that, we're fixing problems. But we never talk about that. Why? Because if I bring that up to people, it comes to, oh, it's the system. Oh, it's a privilege they have. Oh, what do you mean? They can do all that. All right.
Yeah.
They can pick up a
And
book, they can learn, so
forget about picking up a book. A lot of gamers out there know this, that you have to learn how to play the game in order to be successful.
hmm
So it's like, how come people are not learning the game? That's where it
good
boils down
question.
to.
Good question.
Is you
Why
have a
aren't
lot of
people
people.
learning the
One,
game?
one, it looks more attractive to be a single parent in this country. It's attractive, or it's so attractive to depend on child support. It's so attractive to depend on social government subsidies. No, I want to depend for myself. I want to figure this out myself and do the very things to get me to the next level. And that is, even if I start off at the supermarket, it's
hmm
still going to lead me somewhere. It's going to generate me income. If I work at a supermarket, I'm able to buy a suit. Now I'm able to go and have a interview for a corporate job. Then I go from the corporate job, learn what I need to learn there. I usually take the method of mentorship. I find
hmm
somebody in my job who's willing to mentor me to make me a better employee so that I can position myself for a better position.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
learned that the hard way, school of hard knocks. But a lot of folks don't want to put in the work. Instead, they'll argue tooth and nail, blame other people. For example, let's make this relational. Let's make
hmm
this a bit relational. They'll blame the non custodial parent, right?
Hmm.
Because we have a lot of divorce rates. We don't talk about divorce rates in this country. Like you
Another
mentioned,
thing,
we don't talk
exactly.
about low literacy rates in the inner city. He's just said that if we follow the success sequence, that the effects that this would have on minorities, especially in this country.
And
It's very
that's
simple.
backed up, and that's backed up by just plain data. You could go deeper into that data and try to pick apart why not. But at the end of the day, if you start with those three things, you're being set up for, again, above poverty line living.
Yeah.
Then from there, if you're depending on your ambition, depending on your risk factor, depending on your mindset, these are, and again, we don't talk about this for a reason, because I said earlier in my live today, we get planted a seed, right? When I say we're liberal by default, we grew up in New York.
Yes.
We get planted these seeds. That the first person who comes and tell us the reason of our poor neighborhoods, poorly kept, crime, drugs.
Hmm.
Who's the first people telling us reasons of why that's happening? It's our educational system and people around us. What do they tell us? The system ain't for you. They feed you these
Or
lies.
or
Oh, it's
we
not.
need
We got to
more
fight back.
efficiency, or we need more efficiency from the system.
Exactly. So you
What
start
about the
thinking,
individual? What about the individual?
and we
Right?
ignore that.
You rely and depend on these said systems, but don't realize that the system was designed to be inefficient. Why? So you could be successful. They don't
hmm
get that. The system was literally designed to be inefficient so that me and you can do it ourselves. Don't
Yeah,
worry,
yeah,
like the government, I'll take it from here. Me, the citizen.
yeah.
Here's the thing that boggles my mind, right? Is why we have okay, they're not addressing the literacy rate, right?
hmm
They're not addressing the divorce rate. But when
hmm
we look at it in the opposite perspective, why say marriage before having kids? Why say that? What does that really mean, Savory?
that's a good question. I'm glad you got there, because that's a third point. Was that's a beautiful transition there, because this is what comes to mind now that you asked me this. Is we know that marriage brings a man stability, focus, commitment. Like, that's what I would say. It brings that, right? So Michigan made a good. I'm gonna go off what my man right here said, Travis. So also
The
people
milkman,
treat
baby.
sex like transaction. You get something, I get something. It's not about strengthening a relationship or marriage. So marriage again, it's proven already. This is why they throw that in there. That again, if you have kids before being married, right, you can speak on that matcha as well. And I know friends who, you know what I'm saying, because it's a certain level of not that you regret anything, but you look back and you know that certain things could have worked out differently, right? And many people will tell me that too, right? And what does that? What does a divorce cause, or what does a broken relationship cause? It causes more tension and confusion, and just in your life, you're not as orderly any longer, right? Because you have
Yes.
responsibilities that you might not have been ready for, which is why I say you got a job to build that responsibility, right? Which is why I like they say you got a job because it
You
builds
build
that ethic.
Yeah, build yourself first. Build
Hmm.
those disciplines will carry you to your relationship. But instead, what happens is we've learned in the interim, especially in these progressive cities like New York City, where people go to like these progressive colleges. And I won't say which one, but I'll point at something in the room. But you'll see
Hmm.
that these kids will have what Michigander Unite is saying, sexual transaction. Why? Because the primary focus is to remain what? Single. I don't care. I'll remain single. I'll go to college, get a degree in nothing that's going to give me a career.
Yeah.
I'll get a degree in something and then what? Pay a quarter of $1 million, get a job to pay me what? $60,000 a year, and I'm gonna
Hmm.
have to pay not only rent, but I'm gonna have to also pay loans back to. Now, look, folks, if that's what you want to do, if you're going to college or you're going to a higher education or taking a trade school because you know exactly what you want to do, but how many people say when they go to college? This is why I love this basic success sequence. I call this like this is great for anyone, like literally uniform. It
Hmm.
is because college is not for everyone. But high school is rudimentary. You should be able to pass and graduate high school.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And there's
the
programs for people who don't make it. They do GEDs and they still get through
that
it.
was
And
me.
you know, so you
That
trust
was
me.
me.
Yeah, yeah, you can. Yeah, I know many people. I know, for example, and let me peel another layer back on your question.
Mhm.
I knew three friends in high school. One specifically who had three kids when we were sophomores, right?
What?
He had three kids and we were sophomores. He had three kids. I remember this clearly. My man Kelvin, three kids as a sophomore. So, what are you doing there as a 15-year-old? You have three kids. Are you setting yourself up for success? Can you provide for those kids? Do you understand the weight of fatherhood, of community? Work at like you know what I'm saying? It's like it's beautiful to have kids, but in the right frame of work. And we don't teach that in this hood mentality in our neighborhoods. Because in schools, we will talk about it like, yo, three, or I'm not trying to get a kid now, but I have one. But if it happens, it happens. Like people are lax about the attitude. And again, that goes back to again the home. We're not trained to that. So that simple trajectory only becomes difficult when your mindset is not there. Literacy rate, parenting, all that stuff needs to line up. So again, it's as simple as he says, but we need to realize that those values and commitment to that also come from a place, and our neighborhoods don't help us with that.
Yeah, and I like marriage before. And look, folks, it doesn't have to be marriage like religious marriage, like at least a strong commitment with someone where you learn how to have arguments, where you learn
Hmm.
how to humble yourself, where you learn how to say, okay, let me think about somebody else other than myself for
Correct.
once, right? That's what being in a long-term committed relationship does. And if you learn how to build those strong foundations in that relationship, which is why I believe get married first before have children is going to lead to great success. Let's not make no mistake. He said 86% of those said people who follow that success sequence usually end up in the middle class.
Hmm.
Let's not ignore that. So why do we not want to take that route is beyond me, right? So for example, I'll ask you this question. How many people did you have to glean from when it comes to a successful relationship growing up? I'll tell you for me, I answered this
Zero.
question on my live this morning. There's probably maybe one, actually, no, me growing up, not a single person in my family I can glean from that had a long term marriage.
First time I saw a marriage intact is when I initially met you and I went to CCF, the church,
Hmm.
where I saw like, oh wow. For me, it was like, oh, this is possible because it was young people. For me, I was like, all right, that was like, for me, it was like the first time I was like, wow, young people married. But in my context of friends and family, I got a whole bunch in my mom's side aunts who are single, divorced. My parents divorced when I was in junior high school. My dad was in my life, but most of my cousins, their dad wasn't in their life. So this whole cycle of like, it was no clear example. So it wasn't
Yeah.
even a priority to me. So that kind of like also set me back in some ways. The way I looked at relations like wasn't important.
And then we're creating a society today that is that's not monotheistic. It's
Hmm.
literally plural. It's literally coming together with someone else, anyone else, because it's about a dual income family, not a single income person. But instead,
Yeah.
we still have single motherhood that is at a very high rate. For example, I'm gonna let you in on a little something about me and for the audience to know is I got married at 20 years old, right? I got divorced at 22. My marriage didn't make it. It just had no real foundation. And for the past 10 years, my son's mother and I have literally, we can't even talk to each other. There's not a way we can. We can't exist in the same room. We can't have a simple conversation.
Mm.
Like, it just won't work at all. And why is that? Because we didn't have a relationship to glean from to learn how to deal with our differences. Not at
Mm.
all. Not at all. It just could not work, and it still can't work. There's no respect. When you lose respect for yourself, you lose respect for the other. And how many people have gone through that? So now this set, like you said, it
Yeah.
sets you back. The divorce in your family, it set you back. It's setting my son back.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah.
And
So
then now kids have to play this game of picking a side. I have to pick the side of my mom, or I have to pick the side of my dad, where my mom
facts.
is saying that my dad is a deadbeat, right? Or putting all this stuff in a kid. You're setting your kid back when you're
Yeah.
spewing that kind of
Yeah,
division
you're sowing
inside of them.
untrust, you're sowing defeat, you're
Crazy.
sowing these different seeds. One of the biggest things that my parents did, and I'll share this last thought, is I've never heard, and this is the opposite of what you're sharing. I never heard my mom or dad speak negatively about one another, only highly after the divorce. So that really
What?
helped me. Yeah, that helped me in my childhood. I realized how much that helped me the years to come because I'm like, wait, what? They had their strives, they had their problems, but they realized the importance of not putting me in the mix of all this and sowing these seeds. I don't know how they looked at it personally, if they would use my words, but the point is, my mom would say, "Your dad is a great man." Can you believe that? And my dad
You
would say, "No,
said they
you're."
spoke more highly of each other when they divorced as well, to you.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm only talking about when they divorced because my siblings are much older. So I was in junior high school and they divorced. So I kind of know I didn't most of my parents they were together. I didn't experience a lot of that. And they were already having problems for years. So I kind of experienced the tension and the divorce of the relationship while my siblings experienced the love. And then the divorce came when they were in college. They were like 10 years older, my sister and 8, so it was different. But the point is, the simple fact that they didn't speak negatively about one another I think helped me a lot growing up. Why?
Wow.
Because I was able to look at my dad. I was frustrated, but once I got a little older, I'm like, all right, this is the reality. And I got a good father and I got a good mother. Right. And my mom would say, hey, visit your dad. My dad would say, look, you got to go, listen to your mom. My mom would still call my
Mhm.
dad, hey, he's acting up. And then my dad will call me because I still had that respect for my dad. So what do I say all this? Look, they worked their best to try to keep the family together. You see that? Even
Even
though
though
it
they
broke
weren't
apart.
together.
Come
Wow.
on, man. That's something I admire about them, but that's not everybody's story, which is why I'm grateful for that.
You got a video here?
Um,
What do we got
so we
here?
got right here. So I'm gonna share a bit since we're coming to the end of this, the American dream. What is the American dream? And I want to compare that to the capitalistic system and the growth and the luxury. Let's talk about the reality of the luxuries and how capitalism in itself, or just in America, has made many people's lives better. So I'm gonna play this clip on PragerU right here.
for a few moments, you'd realize you don't want the government involved in just about anything private business can do. That's because profit-motivated individuals have to work to please their customers. You, government agencies, don't have to please anyone. Call that IRS service line if you doubt me. Can you imagine if Steve Jobs had to seek government approval for every new design of the iPhone? We'd have been lucky to get to the iPhone 3G. Look at Uber. Just a few years ago, summoning a private driver in a few minutes who would take you where you wanted to go was truly a service available only to the wealthiest people. But now, thanks to capitalism, private rides are an affordable option for ordinary people all over the world.
That's right.
Until Uber came around, if it started to rain in, say, Manhattan, and you wanted to grab a cab, good luck. Too many rain-drenched people and too few cabs. Uber had a better idea. Rain falls, demand for rides spikes. Raise prices to incentivize more Uber drivers to hit the road. Ride in the rain problem solved. Airbnb is another.
That is
So-
a great example.
So again, they go through examples, and you see that Airbnb is the next one. So it's a great video there. But why do I play that? I want to leave people with these facts: that the American system in itself has made your life better, whether you see it or not. Those are just facts, right? And I can say that confidently because these are the systems from being on an iPhone, right? From using Uber, that people in the hood use, right? People in the hood have these. This is brought to you by capitalism. So just FYI, I just want to lay that out as we talk about, as we end the success ladder in the American dream. Yeah, Macho,
Oh,
talk to
that
us.
is
You got
great
something
sip
for us?
on facts right there. I want to give a special shout out to a new person in the chat. I don't think I've ever seen this person before.
Oh, Katie.
Uh,
Yeah, she's been on our lives though, right? Yeah.
Katie Meyer. We want to give you a special shout out. Thanks for
Yeah,
joining
thank you for
us.
coming through. Appreciate you.
We need to build the community, folks. So continue sharing the podcast, because as you share us, we build this community. We have a bigger reach, and we get to build more of what our vision is for the coming future. So thank you everybody for joining and sticking around and watching this
Much love.
episode of Drinks with a Nobody.
With a nobody.